very quickly, and we were like, he's not coming. We know he's not coming anymore. And amidst all the craziness, Rob personally emailed us and said, just want you to know, I'm still going to come if you can make it on Saturday. So, I mean, they're shooting next week. So the fact that he is here is amazing to just who he is and support that we get here at the festival. So we want to thank him for that. Thank all of you for being here. I'm going to introduce maybe one of our favorite moderators, Ben Blacker from Nerdist. Who is going to introduce Rob and Chris. Okay. You get to introduce them.
Sure. Maybe one of your favorite?
Maybe.
All right, let me know when you decide. That's fine. Thank you guys. My name is Ben Blacker. Follow me on Twitter at Ben Blacker. I'm the creator of the Nerdist Writers panel. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you have heard of it. That kind of makes it worthwhile. And the co-creator of the Thrilling Adventure Hour, a stage show on the style of Old-Time Radio. Thank you. I'm thrilled to be doing this. This is honestly the only panel I requested. So sorry, Meg. But yeah, please welcome Rob Thomas and Chris Lowell.
Cool.
So, what's new?
Hey!
How's your spring been?
Busy. It has been very busy. For those of you, and I think I saw a show of hands that many or most of you were backers. I believe the update is coming out now, and this is probably not big news, but Chris Lowell will be in the Veronica Mars.
What? Thanks, man.
Yeah. I really hope we can get that deal to make.
Yeah, me too. Cool.
Are you restricted by traditional studio deals? What is the model for this? I'm so fascinated by it.
As am I.
How are you working out deals with people? How are you working out distribution? Give us a little bit of the background on this and the technical stuff.
Well,
then we'll get into the fun stuff.
Sure. Distribution, we actually don't know how it's going to be distributed yet. I can tell you that at the beginning, in all the talks, initially there was no guarantee that there would be a theatrical release of the movie. No one had any idea how we would do on Kickstarter, what the buzz would be like. But right before we launched, they made a decision at Warner Brothers to go ahead. You make different deals if you are planning on a theatrical release of the movie, and they started feeling like, we think it's going to happen, we think it's going to make. So all the deals did include a theatrical release, but at the time, I think people were talking in terms of 200 or 300 screens, a very limited release, and there's no guarantee. If the movie doesn't turn out, great. Who knows? That may be where we are. But they've now been talking about many wider release scenarios.
I know for me, I just got an email from you. I was staying on my friend Emma's couch, and I get this email from Rob. It's like, hey man, listen, so it looks like this Veronica Mars thing's actually going to happen. Any chance you want to come back and play Piz? I think I wrote back saying, I've never stopped playing Piz. I still refer to myself as Piz.
And so you're starting production this week. Are the expectations for you different? Are you feeling? What I'm really asking is, are you feeling more pressure because there is so much of the public invested in this than maybe you could have anticipated, or maybe you knew that people were going to respond the way they did?
Yes and no. Well, I'm certainly feeling a ton of pressure. I feel an immense amount of pressure.
You're going to nail it, right?
I don't. I don't.
What do you guys think?
We are a guinea pig for this financing model. We have a lot of people's attention, and I think so far so good. If you would judge the Kickstarter process and how things have gone, and we're going to get to shoot the movie, and we're getting the cast that we want, and we're getting to spend real money on it. I think it all goes out the window if we don't stick the landing. If it's not a quality movie at the end of the day, if somehow we don't get T-shirts out in a timely fashion, and people catch us using the signing machine for all the signed posters, that is not happening. That was a joke. Then will be some sort of weird footnote or the punchline of a joke. When we launched, I thought there was a chance of humiliation. We had been talking about it for a year and a half. The Kickstarter video that we shot that was on our page, on it we say, hey, if we raise enough money, we're going to start shooting the movie this summer. But that was shot a year before. That was shot February 2012 when we thought we had permission from Warner Brothers to do it, and then they got cold feet for a little while and wanted to re-explore it, and I thought the project was dead. So it had been in the works for a long time, and I've spent a great deal of time feeling like the Pied Piper on this mission, like really being in salesman mode, convincing executives at the studio that this could be big, that there is a groundswell there, that we will do all right, and after all this sort of gung-ho enthusiasm that I felt like I had to put forward in order to push this rock up the hill, Kristen and I decided, the night before we launched, we're going to send these mysterious tweets to each other and kind of say, hey, everyone stay tuned for some news tomorrow. And I really thought, not because I have no followers, but or did at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Well, I did. I had actually had several thousand followers who all believed they were getting the Matchbox 20 guy. And I am not kidding. I mean, if you looked at my Twitter feed, very few people knew they had the wrong guy. But Kristen Bell has 1 million Twitter followers, and I thought once we send these mysterious little tweets to each other, it will erupt. It will be like a bonfire on the internet. And on the eve of doing all this, and after spending really 1.5 years of my life trying to get this going, we tweeted each other, and it barely caused a ripple. I mean, there were maybe a couple hundred tweets that I saw, but it was not what I was expecting. It was not close to what I was expecting. We were launching the next day, and I went from having an absurd level of confidence to thinking, oh my God, Kristen and I have been listening to the same 20 fans for the last 7 years. And we're going to look silly. We're going to look silly asking for $2 million because no one... I mean, there have been projects that have made more than that, but no one had asked for that much. And had we, launched and raised $35,000, it would have looked silly. To the question about whether there's pressure, yes. I am very conscious of it. The movie needs to be good, and it would be nice if it ended up making money rather than losing money. I think those two things, and then it will be the wrap-up stories a year from now will be upbeat. It'll be
exactly
good.
I want to talk about the campaign, but before we get into that, let's kind of look back at those 7 years, because there had been talk about a movie, whether it was among you guys or it was just among the fans, kind of since the show was canceled. And Chris, I actually want to start with you. You have to live your life as an actor. You have to go take other jobs. Was this something...
That's correct.
Not really a question. Was this something that you were talking to Rob about, you were talking to Kristen about, or was this something you had to be aware of? How real was it for you that this possibility existed? Because for the fans, it was always something just out of reach.
Yeah, I think. Well, the only reason that it did feel like a reality, I mean, all the time people are talking about like this project that's going to happen. You sort of get used to just not believing any of it. I think what always made this stay on the table was how die-hard all the fans were. I mean, when we were moving from, was it UPN? Was that what the network was? UPN and WB were becoming CW. You'd hear these things of like, fans are paying to have planes fly back and forth with banners from one studio to the other to say, bring Veronica Mars to CW. There'd just be like, there's just this sort of hunger always from the fans, which really, I think, obviously in this state, literally is the reason that the film came to fruition. So we've always talked about it, I think, and we always had so much fun on set. And it was always such a family, and if anyone was going to pull it off, I think it was going to be you and Kristen. And I think the way you guys ran the Kickstarter page is very similar to the way we ran things on set. You'd always find things in scripts where it would be like, what the hell does this mean? Come to you and be like, what is this? And you're like, oh, this is this funny joke that Kristen and I had last week. And it's like, all right. So whether it was like inside jokes from The Room, or like, I think my character was named after the guy who did the pilot, things like that. Always these little, and with the Kickstarter, it's the same thing. It's having you guys name characters and like get a walk-on line, which I read in the script recently. I'm really excited about who gets to say that. So I think, obviously there was some hesitation in getting too excited about it, but I think I had confidence that it was going to happen from the get-go.
And what was your take on it? I mean, again, you spent many years after the close of the show with this kind of out there.
It was both the blessing and the curse for the last several years. There were moments where I felt confident that we were going to get something going. Joel Silver is a partner of mine on the project, and he had a big deal at Warner Brothers. And there were a couple times where he thought, "There's a light. There's a crack in the door. I think we can get something going." And
let me interrupt right here. Like, what were those cracks? Where did you think, like, when did an opportunity seem real to you?
A couple guys got drunk, started talking about the movie, making promises they couldn't keep. We're in!
Well, I know that, like, the biggest moment, and this gets, into Joel's business, so I don't know how deep I want to get into this, but, Joel had an overall deal, and it had a certain ability to make movies at certain dollar amounts based on certain things. And we thought we could get the Veronica Mars movie made for a dollar amount through his deal. And so I came in with a pitch of the movie, and this would have been, at that point, around the time that Veronica would have been graduating from Hearst College. So it was centered on sort of a Neptune-y spring break. I mean, Joel, given the size of the movie, wanted a very commercial movie. And so I came in with a pitch, and then Warner Brothers decided to do a marketing test survey of, Veronica Mars awareness, and we did not score high enough on that test apparently, and so it fizzled there, and I certainly I hit a sort of a low point there, and I can remember reading a headline like, "Yes, I Google alert myself," and I find out a lot about the other Rob Thomas. But one of the headlines that I read was, "Will Rob Thomas please shut up about the Veronica Mars movie?" Which I know, like I feel like I spent half the time like trying to stoke interest and keep it alive, and then the other half trying to tamp it down because I didn't think it was going to happen and wanted to kind of not raise anyone's hopes for it.
Or your own, I would imagine.
Right. The thing about with the Kickstarter campaign that I knew is that it was going to give some sense of completion or finality, or I don't even know if that's the right word, but had the Kickstarter drive failed, it would have been put to bed. That would have been the end of it. It never would have happened after that, and at least I could sleep soundly knowing, hey, I gave it my best shot, and it wasn't meant to be. And now, I'm already outlining movie 6. I'm way ahead of myself.
Do not tell them that. Let's talk about the campaign for a minute, because I think for people who haven't run a Kickstarter campaign, it really is a campaign. There's a lot of work involved, and there's there's a 24-hour cycle on this thing, and it takes constant upkeep. Tell me about your involvement with the campaign, and who did you have helping you? How did you work this? There's a lot of machinery there.
It was. That was one of the crazier months of my life, and in my mind, I was so. In some ways, I was very well prepared. The sort of 6 months, 8 months that we went dormant when I thought Warner Brothers was going to, where the final answer was no. I got to study other Kickstarter campaigns. I kept an eye on it, sort of watch what was succeeding and failing, and I feel like.
Can you talk about any of those? Do you remember which ones you were looking at or impressed by, or influenced your campaign?
When we were, it was funny if you watch our Kickstarter movie. We're very bold about saying we're going to be the biggest Kickstarter campaign ever, and we were going after $2 million. But as we were filming that, a company went over $3 million on a video game, and then when I first proposed the Kickstarter campaign, the highest total ever on Kickstarter was $900,000. By the time we got to launch, the highest total was $10 million. So we had to add this flashing thing, biggest Kickstarter drive ever, film division, because we realized we didn't think we were going to hit 10 million. But I will say, and there was a big debate, in the room with Warner Brothers about how much we should ask, and all sorts of numbers, anywhere from $1 million to $3 million, were bandied about at that time. And I remember in my head, I was thinking $5 million. I mean, not as the ask necessarily, but that was the number in my head that I thought we could do. And so, we got to 5.7. I weirdly, as successful as it was, 5 million was always the number in my heart. That was the number that I really wanted to do. But it was just how insane that was, and how the dumbest thing that I did was determined that because I wouldn't know the size of the movie, how much money we could spend on the movie, I didn't start writing it until the middle of the not until the middle of the Kickstarter. We knew we were making it after day one, and I had outlined it, but there were all these fuzzy sections in it, like if we do 2 million, it's this. It's 8 characters in a room, and if we do 5 million, it will be this sort of movie. And so I had to sort of respond, and because Kristen Bell goes back to work on her Showtime show, there was a very specific window we had to shoot in. I really dumbly thought that the Kickstarter campaign would, once I got it launched, that it would run itself in some sort of way. I got 30,000 emails on that first day. And
were they all coming to you?
Well, the email address was coming to me.
That's crazy.
And I have an assistant who's been with me for years and years. And
you broke him?
Yes. Well, we were. There was someone. He's in L.A. I live here in Austin, and we would sort of connect it around 3 in the morning, because I would be getting. I'm a morning person. I'd be getting up then to sort of tend to things, and he would still be answering emails at that point. We'd kind of have this cycle going. Happily, 80% of them were like, "Way to go," and then 19% of them fit into like a frequently asked question pattern that we could answer very quickly, but 1% of them were like really hard questions. We're like, I know we can't back here in Denmark, but I have a mailing address in New Jersey, but my credit card is from a bank in France. Can I donate? And I don't know how to answer that question. It would require me to get on the phone with somebody in accounting at Warner Brothers to see what the rules were. So it became really difficult to manage. It's the least I've slept in a month.
Wait, I've got a question for you. How did you? Was it you or Kristen? Who came up with like the gifts everyone was going to get? That's what I kept wanting to know. Like, who came up with those ideas?
That was largely me, but it was vetted like. I'm sure like the State of the Union address is vetted because I had if for those I'm sure most of you have seen the video, Jason Doring, there's a line in there about associate producer credit, which was something that I wanted to do. I had this whole plan that hey, you could get your own IMDb associate producer credit and for a certain dollar amount. We would have pre-screenings in Los Angeles, invite our associate producer credits out. I would meet with them, get feedback on the initial cuts of the movie, and those people, 40 or so, would have had some say in, or at least, be like a really intensive focus group sort of thing. I was excited about that idea. Apparently, the Producers Guild was not. Excited about that particular thing, and there were all sorts of things that legally we couldn't do, and so that document had to be cleared by many different branches of Warner Brothers. But they were great. I will say this: Warner Brothers wanted it to happen, and certain executives over there really really championed the project and took it over the top.
Chris, so, tell me from a guy who is involved with this show, obviously, and invested in the show, but not directly involved with the Kickstarter campaign. Again, you were off having your life. You're watching this happen. What were you thinking at this time?
I remember Kristen sending me an email, or maybe Ryan Hansen, who played Dick Casablancas, him sending me an email, one or the other, being like, I think they're launching that Kickstarter campaign tomorrow. I hope we don't fuck it up. And I was like, well, I'm not going to say I'm in it until I know if we're fucking up or not. I'm totally not attached to this project until you guys hit that green limit. And then I remember writing you an email because I knew you guys were nervous, and I remember writing Rob an email being like, hey, just checked it. Looks like you guys raised like 20 grand already. All right. Like, what an asshole I look like at the end of the day. Let me tell you. I remember when Kristen shot it. In fact, this is so lame. I remember Kristen shot it, and she and Ryan Hansen and Ryan Devlin, who played Mercer the rapist in season 3, which I'm sure is a character all of you remember.
Beloved character.
You guys all have your Mercer the rapist stuffed animals at home with you.
Unicorns.
We were all at Kristen's, and she was telling us about it. And Devlin and I were so freaking jealous. I was like, what the hell? Where was my phone call for this Kickstarter campaign? Kristen was like, well, no one likes Piz, dude. They want me and Logan together. What do you think you're not in this campaign for, you asshole? You're probably not going to be in the movie. This is like in 2012. And I was like, well, shit, man. So me and Devlin and Kristen and Ryan Hansen got together and made the stupidest video of our own, which I was like, this thing's gonna go crazy viral, because Kristen had released that weird, what was the orangutan or whatever, sloth. All right, well, clearly you saw it.
Was that popular?
Yeah. So I was like, this is gonna be as popular as that sloth video, and it was this weird, really weird techno video of like Eastern European older men dancing in like a field, and we duplicated the dance perfectly. And that was sort of my own, like, kind of like, that was like my own fix in terms of how I wanted to feel somehow like I contributed to the project. I made a video for you guys last night to announce that I was going to. We realized like we're sort of slowly releasing, I guess, who's in the cast, and Kickstarter fans get to know before anyone. And so I got this frantic email yesterday, like, oh shit, you're going to be at this panel, they're going to know. Can you make a video real quick? And so I feel, now I kind of feel like I'm part of the family, now that I've done that.
Finally. All right, so let's talk about the script for a second, and tell us every single thing in it. Again, you're balancing during the campaign, not knowing how much budget you're going to have, not knowing what you can get away with. Were there things that you knew had to be in the script? Did you know there was a story that you had to tell?
Yeah, I've known for the last since I took it in to propose to Warner Brothers that we do the Kickstarter version. I've had a new vision for it. It's funny because there has been, there've been. I would say this is the third thing that I've really fleshed out. And the problem is that all the actors keep getting older.
Almost.
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 Some of us just get you.
And so something that made sense 4 years ago doesn't make as much sense now. I've known how I wanted the movie to end and what Veronica's dilemma is probably for the last year and a half, and that would have existed, I think, in the $2 million version or the $6 million version.
As you're finding out, what characters are involved and really what actors and other people you can afford, is that changing the nature of the thing?
Yeah. It's how grand we can go on some of these things. The lower budget versions would have been very Agatha Christie. It would have been, murder in a drawing room and Veronica trying to solve it over the course of a night. As it is, I think it's we have an ambitious, $5 to $6 million movie that we're doing. It's not going to be the Hunger Games. We do not have $120 million to shoot it, but I'm excited about the scope. It's probably at the top end of what my expectations would have been. One of the things that I keep noting as we've gone through this is as an example, if we had just barely gotten over the hump, that there would have been harsh words exchanged at the high school reunion. But if we made more money, there would be a brawl. And we got to brawl level. But please don't come in expecting the Matrix brawl. It will be real sort of grappling more than it's going to be artistic.
More of a struggle. More of a struggle.
Yeah, struggle.
Less of a brawl, more of a struggle.
It's still the show that it's a movie, but it's still
there are no car chases in it. But I think for the size movie, I think it's a pretty ambitious thing. It will feel bigger than the TV series. I know
the
that.
Stash Pisnarski shark attack scene in and of itself is a pretty bold move for a $5 million movie.
That extra $3 million.
To be fair, though, we did go with the shark from Jaws. It looks very 1970s.
It does. It's just the ride in Orlando, Florida that I'm on.
And the show itself, I will say, and this is part of why people love the show, is it was an ambitious show from a storytelling perspective. I think we expect that, and we don't expect anything. We don't expect fireworks. We expect a really well-told story and an ambitious story and characters that we like.
I remember thinking when I read the script, and I'm sure you feel this way, but you also probably feel you're so close to it. I think for all of the Kickstarter fans, having read the script now, I literally think you wrote the film that the fans will want to see. I don't think there's anything in there that's going... I think there's going to be so many things that are going to surprise people, but at the same time, this is a movie that you guys literally brought to fruition, and I think you've given them the film that they're going to want. It's a really great project.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. This is obviously it's fan driven, and wouldn't exist if not for the interest and then the cash of the fans. Tell me about walking that line between creating the thing that you want to make and that you guys want to make, and the thing that will serve the fans, that the fans want. That has to be a tough balance.
Well, we said Piz is cast, so they're all happy.
They're happy.
So now Rob can do whatever he wants.
I was very conscious of the fact that it was crowdfunded, and the fortunate thing is that I think that the movie that the fans want to see is pretty much the movie that I want to make. So those things aren't divergent. There have been times, in discussing with my agent, in what way could the Veronica Mars movie get made today? And like one of the things that he talked about, he suggested that I actually noodled with was, hey Rob, go write this great thriller with a 30-year-old female lead, and go pitch it and sell it as that, and then sort of in the last line of the pitch is, and it's Veronica Mars. And that was attempted, like, what if, like, that's the bonus thing, it's the last line of the pitch, and, you know, but that might not, it would be hard to go in and pitch that without somehow, how are we going to put Wallace, you know, in this version, and, you know, all Weevil and you know, Mac and Piz and Logan, like, that would have been a real trick, and I think fans of Veronica Mars, the series, while I think they might have been, oh great, there's a Veronica Mars thriller out there, I think the pleasure zones for us, for you know, what I enjoy about the show, would involve bringing back the people that we care about. I think we want to see where they are all these years later.
Well, that's what we get out of TV, right? Is we get to live with these people for so long, and you know, they become family. So the fact that you can reconvene them all that's going to make us very happy, right, as fans. Chris, remind us how the series ended.
Oh shit.
We can ask one of the fans.
We could, and we might. I swear to God, I was up in my room before we got here. I was up watching Veronica Mars in my frickin' room with my voice. I was like turning the volume down because I was like, I'm gonna look like the biggest asshole. Okay, so here's what I remember about the end of the show, because I'm only on episode 7 of season 3 right now. Okay, the show ends. It's raining. Veronica and I have had sex. It's been filmed both by the studio, and then I did something else with it. That's been released. Logan and I get into a huge fight. As you can tell, the epicenter of everything I'm remembering has to do with me.
I'm surprised they didn't change the title.
I mean, it should be Piz Mars. We get married. I take her name. Scene 1. No, so I think, and then basically the end of the pilot, as I remember, I mean, in terms of just like my involvement in the film, in the show, is that Veronica and I were still together. Logan and I were sort of not in the best of situations, and then there was the sort of detriment of what was going on with Keith Mars as a result of Veronica's. Which, do you want to jump in here?
Yeah. Well, I want to say who can name the final song of Veronica Mars the series? Yes, very nice. And it never rains in Southern California is the final song as Veronica walks out into the rain. And you know, these are going to be the tiniest of spoilers, and these are and I mean tiniest. These are not big spoilers because these are things I've said in the press. These are the first few pages of the movie. So, but it starts with Veronica in New York. We open with Veronica in New York, and she travels back to California, and she and as she arrives, I wanted her to return in the rain as this nod to how the series ended. And in this low-budget movie world, my line producer called me in yesterday back in California and said, "Rob, I have bad news for you. We're 30,000 over. We got to lose the rain." So I want you, as you see her land and come out of the Balboa County airport, imagine rain.
Just imagine Rob's tears that he didn't get that, and that should be enough to emulate
should
the
we
rain.
pass a hat?
No.
My question, though, is, and the reason I wanted to kind of recap, is, you know, in writing the script, how much were you thinking about, God, I have 7 years to catch up on. How much did you have to close up story from that time, and how much could you concentrate on telling new story?
One of the debates, Warner Brothers has been great in not, one of the best things about doing this via Kickstarter, if you write a movie or a TV show through normal channels, you are dealing with creative executives who have a lot of thoughts on your script, and you are sort of arriving at a movie at the end of the day that has had a lot of input from a studio or a network. The nice thing about doing it this way and sort of coming into it with, hey, we've got several $1 million of our own here, is they have not been heavy-handed. In fact, they've barely given me any creative thoughts. But one of them is how much we attempt to catch up non-Veronica Mars viewers into the world. And I've been, and interestingly, and you might think that these things are reversed, because I would have thought so if I hadn't been in the middle of it. They want me to give more information, and I want to give less. I want to uncomplicate it for people who are coming to it fresh. There's a scene at the top of the movie that I think very quickly catches people up to speed, and all I think that it's important for a new viewer to know is that Veronica spent her teenage years, oddly, working as a private detective, but that she hasn't done that since we last saw her. Just so you all know, Veronica has not worked a case since you last saw her at the end of season 3. And so I'm trying to give a very minimalist explanation so that no one feels like we're missing mythology, we're missing backstory. There are certainly, I think, plenty of fun Easter eggs for people that know the show, but I want to uncomplicate it for new viewers. So there's no Lily Kane mythology, there's no bus crash mythology. It really, I want to keep it clean. She worked as a PI as a teenager. She put that away and is now leading an adult life as we find her.
I just have one more quick question for each of you, and then we'll open it up to questions from the floor. The way I would love to do questions, and I don't know if there's anyone in charge of me here, but...
Run wild.
Yeah, apparently. If you do have a question, I would love if you could come line up in like one of these corners here, and we will hold the microphone up to you. So I'm going to ask them one more question, and then I want everyone to rush into a line. Okay? Either that one or that one. And we'll hold the microphone up. Here's the rule. There are several rules, and if you listen to the Nerdist Writers panel, you know the rules. But they are these. Questions begin with an H or a W, not with an I. Questions do not have the word hug in them. And please do not touch the microphones. We will hold them up to you. So here's my last question for you guys, although I have a lot more, so if you guys don't have them, I will. Outlining is one thing, kind of creating the stories over the years for the various iterations of the movies is one thing, but sitting down and writing these characters is a whole other one. What was that experience like emotionally for you?
Oh, it was a joy. It's the most I've enjoyed writing something. It's like putting on comfortable clothes. So much of what I do, particularly as someone who works largely in television development, is coming up with new characters and trying to invent voices for them, and to have people so fully fleshed out in my head and sort of know who can say what in a scene and who these characters are. God, I loved it. I loved it. How much I loved writing Keith Veronica scenes after not getting to write those for 7 years. It was fun. Yeah, I couldn't have enjoyed that more. I could have enjoyed it more if I hadn't been working 20 hours a day. But I really, that part was fun.
Were there any challenges involved in that?
Nope, all just flowed out of my...
You're that good.
Yeah, I mean, while possibly writing character stuff and dialogue stuff, that came fairly easily. Mysteries are hard to break, and you know, when I hired the Veronica Mars writing staff, this might not be the smartest way. In fact, I know it's probably not the smartest way of doing it. I wanted to hire all sort of writers with sort of humor and great character voices, and I think I was largely successful. I forgot to hire anyone who knows plotting, or more specifically, mystery plotting. Like there are people who's, you go to the bigger shows, hit shows on bigger networks, and they always get 3 or 4 guys on staff who, we know how to structure a mystery, a cop show, whatever, and we always just we spend so long on it, and honestly, breaking a mystery by yourself is a really hard thing to do. Fortunately, this last year I had a few interns from the UT graduate screenwriting program who I got to have. It was like having a little mini writer's room, putting the beats up on the dry erase board,
fantastic.
and was very, very helpful.
That's great. And Chris, sort of the same question. I mean, you're about to be Piz again. Tell me about your relationship with this character, and is it an easy skin to wear again?
Well, the hair is going to be tough. I'll say that up front, because I don't have a Trojan helmet of blonde hair anymore. Beyond that, no, I think, honestly, I really, like I said before, I think we all had such an immediate rapport when we were working together. I feel like, I hang out with Kristen and Ryan and Jason all the time. We all kind of get together as often as possible, and so I feel like the camaraderie is I think what's most difficult for an actor on set to really believe when you're watching a film is the chemistry. And for us, it's 7 years old and more. I mean, we're still friends now. So I think for us, it's going to be as much fun as it was for Rob to write, to just jump back into these ridiculous characters and have a blast with them. Yeah.
All right, let's get some questions from you guys.
I'm gonna take a bathroom break while you guys do this.
If you guys can.
This one right here.
Hi. So, living here in Austin, which is obviously a really awesome town to live in, but does it ever make it hard to interact with the LA people or scene, or make that connection hard to be back and forth, or any of the interactions?
It does. I could not have started my writing career, or particularly my television writing career, living in Austin. I only could move back after becoming established. If for any young, I shouldn't even say, it's not the word young, but new writers, people trying to break into the business, in the television business, I think you have to be in LA. That's where the jobs are. I could not have commuted and gotten work. Only because I've done a lot of television will people sort of let me write from here, and honestly, I've been seeking, and I've got a couple things in play right now. I desperately want to get a show set in Texas where I don't have to get on a plane every week and fly to LA. But I like having my kids in great public schools. I love Austin, so that's kind of why I'm here now.
Hi. Over the years, as new fans have discovered the show, or fans have rewatched it over the, that knew of it as it was on TV, have you noticed any opinions changing over the years? Like maybe characters they were lukewarm on, now they love, or vice versa? When Veronica Mars was on the air, when we were actually shooting, I did keep a pretty close tab. And this was, pre-Twitter, and I think pre-Facebook, and I got most of my information from Television Without Pity, and knew what was taking off and what wasn't, and it was very useful to me also to see what fans were thinking in terms of who the suspect would be for the big crime of the season, and so I found that very handy. Since the show went off the air, I don't know that I've had a really good sense of how things have tracked, how attitudes have changed about things. So I'm not sure that I have a good answer. I will say that I was so conscious of it just by way of example, I really liked the actress who played Jackie on season 2 of the show, and I wanted her to, I wanted to introduce her as somebody who fans would be frosty to, that Veronica would be frosty to, and I overdid it. I spent. And watching the reaction to her, like anyone who would be even a little bit mean to Wallace, or clearly it was like having her like twist the head off a kitten. And so I would spend so much, like if you look at the back half of that season, I have Jackie doing the most selfless, amazing things, just trying to get her back into the audience good graces, because clearly I had overshot the mark at the beginning. But I don't know how, I don't know that I have a really good sense of how that has over time. The interesting thing I will say that has changed just in the last 2 months is that I know that there has been a certain Veronica Mars audience, but if I get, over the course of a year, if I have those conversations on airplanes or wherever you meet new people, and or the neighborhood that I moved into, and I say, well, I'm a television writer, and they say, well, what have you done? And I'll say, well, I had a show called Veronica Mars, and it's just, it's glazed over face, and I would say that that's true 19 out of 20 times. And then the 20th person might be very excited, but 19 out of 20 have no idea. And now lately, when I get asked that question, people know Veronica Mars. Our brand awareness has changed greatly. And I think part of that, and Party Down would even be a bigger example of this, that found so much more success after it was gone than when it was actually on the air. If I talk to 20 people who've seen Party Down, only 3 of them saw it when it was actually on the air and could have done us some good. So I guess that's my answer.
Chris, has that been the experience for you too? Do people recognize you more from Veronica Mars these days than ever before?
No. I honestly, I think I will say this: when I do get recognized, it tends to be you can always tell which one's the Veronica Mars fan and which one is every other, because there's just so much more passion, I guess is the word I'll use, from the fans of Veronica Mars, and it's honestly like the most flattering thing to receive from someone. I mean, honestly, to be approached and to feel like you've actually affected somebody as much. And it's especially good because I remember when I got cast, Rob literally sat me down and was like, here's why we cast you. Fans are going to hate your guts. You are literally going to break up like the 2 lovers on the show. People will fucking loathe you. And you're a nice enough guy that hopefully it won't be that bad. Hopefully they won't hate you that much. And it's like, great, thanks for the job. Like, go bolt like door. No, it's. I think I do agree with you. The brand awareness is definitely, before when you would say, like, I was like, oh, I was on the show Veronica Mars, like every once in a while people are like, oh yeah, and again, like when people know the show, they really know it. But now, when I've been saying like, oh, I'm going to go do this thing for the Veronica Mars movie, it's like people are so excited about it. Like they just want to know every detail, which is a really wonderful thing.
Cool. Question.
At the NTSF panel last night, Martin Starr mentioned that it would be hard to do a Party Down movie because of the structure of the show. Do you feel like you're missing or losing anything in translating from a TV show to a movie with Veronica Mars?
Actually, well, I agree with Martin that the structure of Party Down is a tough thing to replicate in a movie, and we've had a lot of discussions about that. I think Veronica Mars works great for a movie. I mean, it is a... there's a whole history of noir detective case movies that we're sort of, that we owe our structural background to. So I've loved having 90 or 100 minutes rather than 42. It felt really good when I was writing it. Honestly, the tough thing was trying to figure out all these characters or all these moments, all these things that I wanted to tap into, trying to figure out what I could trim what wouldn't make the cut and what would in the movie was really tough. I wanted to put more in than would actually fit in a movie. Either we had the budget to shoot, or I know Warner Brothers does not want the Veronica Mars movie to be 2.5 hours. I know that. So.
All right. We'll hopefully get some more questions. Let me ask something from Twitter first, because they have questions. Okay. How much? This is from _cat with a K.
Obviously.
Right. How much influence did Network Notes have on season 3 of Veronica Mars? Are there things you would have changed if you'd known that the show was going away?
I'm sort of hearing a question behind the question. But people are eager to sort of blame the structural difference on Network Notes, those interfering. The truth is, we knew we were in a fight for your life scenario. We knew that the potential for us getting canceled was high, and that we weren't doing the numbers that we needed to do to stay on the air. And so the decision to break it up into 3 shorter mysteries, I was very much a part of. I supported that idea. There was an element of it that I really liked, because they were all done in packages. Like our first mystery, I think we got to air 9 or 10 episodes in a row, uninterrupted, not going away on hiatus, not showing reruns. And I liked that notion of getting to tell them all in a row. And a feeling that we had at Veronica Mars that may have proven to not be true, but that we wanted to explore was, are people shying away from the show because they feel like if they miss 1 or 2, they're so far behind the curve on that 22-episode mystery that we aren't inviting in new viewers? So the notion of, well, let's break it up and have shorter mysteries. Let's try Veronica in college, because there is something inherent. Truthfully, if someone had told me, and what was when the show, like, I think I was 39, 38 when I created it, it said, hey, it's a show about a teenage private eye, I would not have been interested. I would not have checked it. And so the idea of, well, let's get her into college. Maybe people will be more attracted to a college show. It will bring in viewers that are not already watching it. We were willing to try anything to try. We were fighting for our existence. So we were trying things to get a season 4, and clearly it didn't work. But that's why it was not network demanding something. It was everyone sort of together saying, hey, what can we do to try to bring more people to the show?
I mean, it's interesting, too, is it's sort of a transitional time where, now you can absolutely get away with a heavily serialized show, and it's actually encouraged by the networks. A couple years later, you would have been in season 7. Question here?
So going back to what Martin said last night, how is the Veronica Mars project affecting the Party Down project? Is that on hold indefinitely, or is that still in the works? Or
it's still in the works. We still are hopeful that could come together. We are down a path on a Veronica Mars. On a Party Down movie. John Enbaum is working on a script for it, and we've broken out the movie. But we've gone down a traditional path on that. I do, Party Down is an interesting case because, with the Kickstarter campaign, I've been answering all these questions about what it means. Does it mean that there is a new way to finance movies and that this will become commonplace? And I don't think that it will. I think that the Kickstarter model worked for us because of a very specific set of circumstances, sort of having a cult following, having the sort of movie that could be made at a reasonable price point. I think it would be tough for one of a space show to be done via Kickstarter. It'd just be tough to raise that that sort of money. The thing about Party Down is it would be a perfect Kickstarter model. It's a show that we could make at a reasonable budget that does have sort of a cult following, but we are long down a path going through traditional means of making an indie movie, and we're hopeful that that will happen.
Cool.
Hi guys.
Hey.
Will there be any voiceovers in the movie, and are there any recurring guest stars you really want to bring back for a movie?
Yes to both questions, and I hope that's not giving too much away that we will. But interestingly, I have a very specific strategy on the voiceover in the movie. Part of the movie is about Veronica being, there is a Godfather 3 element to this, and I say that like, why not a Godfather 2? And actually. But that no matter how much I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And Veronica doesn't use, as a non-PI, she doesn't use voiceover. It's only when she picks that mantle back up. So we do not open with voiceover. I will tell you that. There are tons of people, and it's interesting because I think it's a room full of many Kickstarter backers. We have promised that we will break all of our casting news, and the Kickstarter backers get everything first. We actually have a bunch of cast deals done, but we're trying to parse them out now that we have them. They've all come together in the last week, but we want to give everyone their own moment. So you will be getting a lot of notices over the next 9-10 days about cast members. I'm very excited about the people. I think you will be too.
Chris, do you just want to tell us all now what those cast members are?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead now, because who gives a shit if I tell you guys, right? I'm not bringing, I made no promises to anybody. No, I'll be fired. Piz is no longer in the movie if I do that.
I know you're doing the documentary of the making of Veronica Mars movie, and I was wondering on like a commentary or something, because I remember in season 3 when Chris, you and Kristen did just a great background going around showing the set and everything, and it was so, you could tell that you were friends and that it was really enjoyable. So are you going to be doing some things like that too?
That's a good question. I think we're going to have so much coverage of... I'm sorry, I know that sounds like I can't answer. What I don't know is, will there be, in addition to the documentary, will there be any other sort of fun DVD stuff, whether that's gag reel or just hanging out with the cast, or if that will actually be included in the documentary. It's been a very odd thing at times, and that I've had like a documentary crew following me around for many days of this, and it does create this very weird self-consciousness, particularly as a writer. Like, why are you? I'm staring at a computer. What could possibly be interesting about this? But we've got. I think there's going to be a ton of fun stuff in that documentary. Warner Brothers, particularly given the size movie we are, they're devoting a lot of resources to press kit materials. We just had a meeting about all the different times that they will have still photographers and EPK people there. I think it will be a well-documented process.
I can tell you, as someone who is clearly on the being left out of things nest in the videos, I'll be making plenty of videos. Me, Chris and I will just wander around the set regardless. Whether anyone will see what we make is entirely up to Rob, I suppose, and Warner Brothers.
Where's the film shooting?
Los Angeles.
Not Neptune.
How long is the shoot?
23 and a half days. Or 23 days and a second unit day is what it's looking like.
And what happens in the movie? All right, so we covered Party Down. The Cupid movie, is that happening?
No.
Any other questions from you guys? Yeah? All right, come on. Come stand right here.
Actually, it's like you kind of lead it up to it's like something I thought about. With Veronica Mars, it's like in Party Down getting a lot of attention. Is there projects that y'all are in the process of wrapping up. It's like that you're responsible for, or that good projects in their own right, but that it's like you have to like put to bed real quick. It's like before you can like go full force into these two films.
Yeah, what have you been working on besides these things that you can talk about?
Sure. Well, I had the strangest day a couple weeks ago while we were prepping the Veronica Mars movie. I started getting all these emails congratulating me for my new series on USA. And the several outlets reported that I had a show ordered. In fact, not only did I have a show ordered, it didn't even have to go to pilot. It went straight to series, which was great, but I didn't know about it. But I have written a pilot for USA that they announced at their upfronts as a drama project that they're developing, which seems like a good sign. It's already in. I think they make that decision in August. It's set here. I could do. It'd be a beautiful life. 13 a year here in my hometown. I would love it if that happened. And then I've got several things in development. Like I'm pitching shows in August while I'm editing the movie. So you're always feeding the beast. Yeah.
It must be freeing for you, though, having lived with the Veronica Mars movie or the prospect of it for so long, to now be able to say, great, I'm doing that thing. I can concentrate on these other things 100%.
Yeah, well, I largely, I was able to concentrate on other things 100% just with a sort of a niggling idea in my head that I want to figure out how to get this other thing made. It wasn't like I was working on some other project and thinking, but only if only I were writing Veronica right now. It's
hard to juggle these things. I mean, keep all these balls in the air as any time. And Chris, where can people see you? You've done a bunch of things. Recently, right?
I have a panel in like half an hour for a show on Fox that I'm doing in the fall called Enlisted, which is a workplace comedy set in the military, because that's always funny. And that'll be on.
Have you seen MASH?
No. What is it? Nashville.
Check it out.
Nashville? Nope. Never seen it. It's funny, actually. It's the same guys who did Scrubs. A lot of the guys who did Scrubs, and apparently when they were making Scrubs, they were saying, we're going to do the emergency room version of MASH. And now they're doing the military version of Scrubs, is I think how they've somehow rationalized it. And then
we're screening the pilot, right?
Yeah. We're going to screen the pilot, I guess, which I haven't seen yet, so freaking hope it's good. And then the Veronica Mars film, and then I directed a film last year, which we're submitting to festivals, so hopefully that'll come to fruition as well.
Cool. Which I've seen and is terrific. You should all check it out.
Thank you, Rob. It's called Beside Still Waters is the name of the film.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Are you in festivals yet, or it's...
No, we're just submitting now, yeah, so fingers crossed.
Before we wrap up, and Chris, starting with you, and then Rob, are you watching television these days? Is there stuff that you're excited about that gets you, invigorated?
It's funny, I'm excited about... I watched. I'm trying to think of what I've seen that I really enjoy. I watched. I watched all the new Arrested Development episodes immediately, which because they're freaking awesome.
ATX sponsor.
Well, that's why. And then actually, what's been really fun, I was saying just earlier, is that I've been just going through revisiting all the Veronica Mars episodes in preparation for the movie, which is the best homework ever. And yeah, those are really, and I suppose I'll be watching my show when it comes on. Maybe.
I had the biggest dick move the other morning, a couple mornings ago, or more than that actually. It would have been last Monday, and I don't know what I was thinking. I got up very early, and I love, my wife and I are devoted Game of Thrones people, and I got up and I tweeted 3 words, and within seconds I had the angriest flood, and it was not much of a spoiler.
What did you say? It's been 2 weeks.
Come on.
If you're not, too bad. Don't worry.
Close them.
Yeah, if you don't want to hear it.
I'll whisper it. What?
I've been busy. Team fell well.
Okay, I will hold up. They weren't very spoilery.
He's off the
It was
mic.
just a mood. It was just a mood poem. I will spell. I will not. I do not want to do that.
Is it still in your feed?
No. God, are you kidding me? Within 30 seconds, I had pulled it down and didn't look at Twitter for a week because I felt like such a. Oh, it was not good. But I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan.
It was crazy that they killed Dinklage.
Yes.
I'm just making conversation. What else are you guys watching?
I'm sorry.
What else are you and your wife watching?
We are big Mindy Project fans. Is she here? What? No. Okay.
Just
He's really cool. I didn't think that was just.
We know what you meant. All right, well, please give a round of applause for Chris Lowell.